What up, YouTube? Mads here, back with another episode of F1 2020 Driver Career with Williams Racing. We are now in the 6th round of our first season, and we are going to España for the Catalunya Grand Prix. Also, guys, check the previous video where we raced in Zandvoort, and we managed to save a potential disaster of a race with that puncture. As always, give the video a thumbs up by smashing the like button and also clicking the subscribe button. It would really help me out. Alright, now, we don't have much to do on the calendar, but before we dance the time, we upgrade our chassis, and hopefully, we would have that upgrade just before our next race in Monaco. We take a look at our R&D progress, and we are waiting for 3 upgrades in total to finish, with one being a major upgrade in our aerodynamics. All are just in time for our race in the streets of Monaco. Now, the progression chart and Mercedes are just way ahead on the R&D, and they are still not done upgrading their car. They are just completely dominating races and finishing 1 and 2 most of the time. But of course, we are also upgrading our Williams car gradually. And our goal is one day we could see this graph with us on the top. Now looking at our mail before the race weekend, we are going to have a wet race. Qualifying is a bit cloudy but dry conditions on this track. But it is forecasted to rain throughout the duration of the race. So this would change a bit in our setup going to qualifying with a little bit more downforce for the race. Now we are off to practice. Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Trying a first practice session of this track in our F1 career. This track is demanding in terms of the aerodynamics of the car. We need to find a good balance of downforce and straight line speed. But with rain forecasted in the race, it would have a big factor in our setup. It has a number of medium speed chicanes and also a combination of uphill and downhill turns that would really keep the drivers on their toes. Good traction is needed as it determines the speed down the home and back straights. And the last part of the track, that dreaded chicane, which was added in 2007, I have a hard time getting it right. But we need to learn the chicane as it determines the speed going to the start and finish straight. So now we just finish up on practice, gaining some resource points, and we get ready for Saturday for qualifying. So here we are in the qualifying session, trying to get past Q1 this time around. We go to our first flying lap on the back straight, braking right before the 100-meter board. Slightly missing the apex, and we go a bit wide on the exit. Now we go uphill around turn 12 we go, giving just a bit of throttle, but we have another oversteer on the exit. Now going downhill, getting ready for the chicane, and we steered way too early, bouncing on the curb, compromising our exit, losing time there. Now we open our DRS and we go to the line, and we get a 1 minute 17.9. So far, we are in the P18 ahead of our teammate Giovinazzi. Now we go onto the track again, fueling our car for 2 flying laps as we try to get out of Q1 here in Spain. Fast forward to our second flying lap. On the back straight again, we got a red on the first sector, now gaining a bit of time on the second sector. We go to the last sector and we gain a half a second around turn 12. Now we focus on the chicane for a better go this time around. And here we go. We took that better now, but bottled it on the exit and still compromised our exit speed, slowly losing time on the delta, and we go across the line and we are up to P15. But we have enough fuel to give it one more lap. Losing time on the home straight due to that poor exit out of the chicanes. But we get time back on turns 2 and 3. But ultimately, we abandon the lap as we are almost a second slower. So we go back to the pits, still at P15. We are just going to wait in the garage for qualifying to end and see the results. And here are the results, and we get knocked out by our rival Kimi Raikkonen with just 0.2 of a second. So once again, we are out in Q1, with the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly also out on P17. Grosjean, Russell, and Giovinazzi are all out the qualifying session. And we get an interview here from Claire, which I am not sure if she's just messing with us. Because we had an abysmal qualifying session, Claire. What are you talking about?
It's been a great qualifying session for you. Are you going to carry that momentum into the race? How do you feel this season is going for you? Appreciate your time.
Checking our power unit before the race, and we have a high overall wear on our engine. And we are in P16, so it wouldn't hurt too much if we have the grid penalty. So we order the new parts of our power unit and take that penalty altogether. So now we are going to start at the back of the grid. All that is left now is to go to Sunday for the race.
The Spanish Grand Prix has been a permanent fixture on the Formula One calendar for over 30 years now, and for good reason. Do you remember Michael Schumacher's absolute dominance here in that rain-soaked Grand Prix in 1996? That day he took his first ever victory for Ferrari, and we've had many more iconic moments since. It's 730 metres from pole position down to a slippery turn 1 here, the first of 16 corners around this 2.89 mile racetrack. The long, wide turn 3 and the uphill right-hander of turn 9 can both be taken full throttle in the right conditions, but I doubt very much we'll be seeing any of that today. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. Thanks for joining us, Ant. And tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Alexander Albon, and Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll, and Lando Norris. Kvyat, Ocon, Max Verstappen, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Magnussen, Raikkonen, Gasly, Roman Grosjean, and George Russell, Giovinazzi, and Midas. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Here we are now on the grid, starting from all the way back on P20. And it's a rainy afternoon for today, and it would continue all throughout the race. So we had a 2-stop strategy all on intermediates. We are going to underfuel the car so we could have a more aggressive start and save fuel on the latter stages of this race. So without further ado, let's start the Grand Prix. Here we go, starting the Spanish Grand Prix. And it's lights out and go, go, go! We have a better traction coming out of the start, and we overtake the Alfa Romeo, now being sprayed upon on the drivers in front as we try to look for a line onto turn 1, and there's a yellow flag. Some crashes in front, and George Russell sends it to the inside and even overtakes Max Verstappen on turn 1 and goes side by side with Kvyat on turn 2. And us still battling with Antonio Giovinazzi going wheel to wheel onto turns 2 and 3, and we get ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Now we are up to P17, but we are still not done. Grosjean up ahead, and we're going to try to look to the inside onto the downhill turn 5. Here we go, and we have the traction and we get past Grosjean. Now up to P16 behind Pierre Gasly. And our teammate George Russell is now up to P10, coming from P18, and gets a massive jump on that turn 1 send that he did. Now on the back straight, and Kvyat goes for a move on Verstappen on the hairpin. And now we are going to try to send it onto turn 10. Going the inside of Pierre Gasly, going wheel to wheel. And we managed to get ahead, but with a massive slide going uphill. But we managed to save the car and avoid getting a crash. This rain would be a real trouble with traction. We are now up to P15 behind the Haas of Magnussen. Now ending our first lap. We are looking strong, already overtaking a bunch of drivers on that first lap, and also Bottas with the lead. We take a look at the start again, now at the front of the pack, and Lewis Hamilton struggled out of the start, and it's a great start by Bottas, already having a lead overtaking Hamilton going to turn 1, and both Ferraris are side by side as both the Renault and Racing Point at the middle of the pack have a synchronized crash struggling in this wet track. Around turns 2 and 3 we go, and Vettel gets ahead of Leclerc. But Leclerc is fighting back, going the long way around the next turn. They are still wheel to wheel, going downhill onto turn 5. They need to be careful not to have a crash. And the two Ferraris still having a go with each other, riding with Vettel, going to the uphill chicane, and Leclerc gets the better of Vettel as he goes past for P3. Already a nice battle going in on this opening lap. Another look at the start, riding on board with our teammate George Russell. We take a look at that monster start he had, and he finds the opportunity to jump the field going to the inside of turn 1 and goes to P10 at the start. But there was a yellow flag. I think overtaking is legal at that point. He may have a penalty. And as a result of that crash on the opening lap, the drivers involved go to the pits. Even Giovinazzi changing his front wing. Now it's Checo Perez of Racing Point and Esteban Ocon of Renault who changed their front wings also. They would have their own race at the back for P17, but it's a long race and anything could happen. Back to us, and we are entering lap 3 still behind of Magnussen. We would not have the help of the DRS due to this rain, so we need to get past the old-fashioned way, out driving the Haas in the rain. So we are gaining on him bit by bit on the corners, but in this track, we don't have much overtaking opportunities and the rain is not helping us at all. The main overtaking is at the end of the start and finish straight, but we do not have the DRS and we are not gaining much on the straights. Even using our battery and rich fuel on the straights, we do not gain any significant time. So this may take a while to find an opportunity to get past. Lap after lap after lap, we are still trying to find a way to get past. Trying different things, but it's really hard to find an opportunity and it's starting to get real frustrating getting sprayed by this Haas ahead of us. And the chicane at the end always ruins my flow. And an example is right here when I get a warning for exceeding track limits. That was such a bad turn by me. I need to keep it clean. But this may be the opportunity we'd be waiting for, getting a bit closer to Magnussen as we go to turn 1. But it's still not enough to make a pass. But we are so close, sticking our nose to the back of Magnussen, trying to find a way past, but it is still not enough to get a move done for now. So we move on later, now onto lap 10, still at the back of Kevin Magnussen, and we get a radio message from Jeff that we could get our hopes back again.
Okay, some information on Magnussen. They have some kind of mechanical problem.
And there it is, there is some problem in the car of Magnussen, and this would really help us on catching up to him and getting past. A little bit later now on the home straight, and we are real close to Magnussen, using the ERS we have, going side by side with Magnussen. And finally, we overtake Magnussen for P14. After so many laps, we overtake him. Now we move our sights to our rival Kimi Räikkönen in front. But before that, riding with Kevin Magnussen, and it really seems he has a problem, struggling to get a grip of his car, and this gives Pierre Gasly a chance to also overtake him. Now on to the end of the lap, we are having a personal best lap, but we are going in for our stop. We cannot go one more lap because our teammate would be going into the pits and it would ruin our stop. Kimi goes into the pits, so ultimately this would be the battle between the Alfa Romeo pit crew and our Williams Racing pit crew. And it's a 2.5 second stop, and we are right at the back of Kimi Räikkönen. We could say that our pit crew won this time, and it's up to us to finish the job. Now we go back to racing speed and onto the first turn, trying to make a way past. But we badly hit the curb on this turn, so we would lose time for now. But just like with Magnussen, we just got to keep at him. Now onto the next lap, and our teammate George Russell goes in for his stop. He did a good job holding 10th position for his first stint, and the crew are not moving. And I think I was right when I said that move on the first lap of the race was illegal, and now he serves his 5-second penalty. And he goes out behind Pierre Gasly, and now he rejoins the race right behind us. That was disappointing. I was even rooting for my teammate to get the points. But now he's down to P15, but still a lot of race, so we never know. Now lap 15, and Kimi is starting to pull away from us. We are lacking the pace and the straight line speed, but we are gaining a bit of time on the corners.
Okay, some information on Perez. They have an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
Perez has also an issue with his car, but he has one of the drivers with the first lap crash, so this would not affect us. But we also caught up with our rival Kimi Raikkonen. Maybe a bit more laps and we could be all over the back of him. On the back straight once more, we are gaining a bit, but it's still not enough to make a move down the hairpin of turn 10. We are all over the back of him, but it's just not that easy to pass without the help of our DRS. Starting lap 20 now, and we are still at P13 behind Kimi. And also our teammate already fallen back 3.7 seconds behind of us on P15. We are just having a hard time to make a pass. We are lacking the straight line speed, even using all of our ERS. We cannot go for the undercut because I think it would not work. And we cannot go a lap later because it would ruin the stop for our teammate behind. So we are stuck at the back of Kimi for now. Now on to lap 22.
We're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
And we would go to the pits for our last stop at the end of this lap. And a bit later, you could see on the track map that there is a yellow flag, and it's the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. He has lost power on his engine, and he even blocks his teammate Sebastian Vettel from passing him. I think there's still some bad blood between them from their first lap battle. So this is good as we have a free position gifted to us. And now we go in for our last stop, and yet again, we are entering the pits together with Kimi Raikkonen. So it's another battle of the pit crew. .3 seconds, another great stop from us, but we are still right behind Kimi as we exit the pit lane. So it feels like deja vu as we get real close to Kimi on the exit, but we still cannot find the opportunity for now. Going to the next lap, and we are all over the back of Kimi going to the finish straight. We are using our ERS and burning the fuel for maximum power as we get closer to Kimi, but it is just quite not enough to make a move, and we settle to get sprayed on again for another lap. Now on the next lap, and we are now real close to the back of Kimi. This is it, the opportunity we've been waiting for. And he tried to go to the inside, but Kimi defends the inside line. So we go back to the outside. Here we go on to turn 1. And we try to brake late as possible, and we go aggressive to make the move stick. And finally, at the closing stages of this race, we get ahead of our rival, and we are now at to P11. Just one more position for that 1 point in the championship. And that's Daniel Kvyat, who is 4 seconds ahead of us. We would try to catch him. Lap 26, and on pace for our personal best lap. We are already 1.3 seconds clear of Kimi, but we are still 4 seconds behind Kvyat for 10th position. And now there's a yellow flag. I do not know what for now, but as we go to the chicane, oh my god, it's Daniel Kvyat. His engine is smoking. That means he is out of this race. And this means that we are now up to P10. Yes, there it is. We now have that 1 point on the championship. It doesn't get any luckier than that. But before we celebrate, we still need to bring this car home. So we just need to keep it clean, manage the tires, and save fuel. Fast forward to the end of this race, and we are up 3.5 seconds ahead of Kimi, and 22 seconds behind Stroll for 9th position. Now we're getting blue flag, and there is Bottas right behind us, and we let him pass now on the back straight. So this effectively means that we are on our last lap of this race. So now we go to the chicane one final time. Valtteri Bottas crosses the line and wins the Spanish Grand Prix. Well, we are going to finish at P10, and I am happy with that result.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
We are even voted for the Driver of the Day award coming from last place.
Yet another historic win under their belts. Well done to the team at Mercedes. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
It's a heroic effort for any driver to race in conditions like these, and seeing them fight their way to the front was very special indeed. They were able to find all the grip, all the good lines, and have the confidence to get on the power to top it all off. That's what pushed them into first place here today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebration. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
I have to give it to Midas. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
And here we are with the results of this race. Valtteri Bottas gets the win and the fastest lap, and Lewis Hamilton on P2. And the remaining Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel takes third place. While us, starting from the back of the grid, we finished 10th position, and most importantly, we take home another point for the Williams racing team. And even our teammate George Russell finishes at a respectable P13 for the team. I think that's his best finish position yet. And the two DNFs who helped us to get that 1 point were Charles Leclerc and Daniel Kvyat. Now the driver standings, and Valtteri Bottas is now just 5 points off Lewis Hamilton in the championship. While the middle of the pack is all so close with each other that anything could still happen. While us, we are P15, tied with Daniel Kvyat with 2 points each. Same goes for the constructors. The middle of the pack are still battling it out for third place and even the second spot, while the Mercedes team just keeps pulling away from the rest of the teams. And us, the Williams team, with the hard-earned 2 points.
Amazing performance.
Now we go to Claire, and
I'm sure
hopefully
you're pretty
no more
happy with that.
sarcasm from her.
Did you struggle to get through all that traffic today? You're beating all expectations. Did you feel comfortable in the wet weather today? So talk us through what happened between you and your rival. Appreciate your time.
So we get the better of Kimi in this race. We are now up to 21 points to his 15 in this rivalry. Okay, so back to our HQ, and we had quite a race there, and the new parts of our power unit really paid off. And now we have some upgrades on the way before our race in the very tight streets of Monaco. Hopefully, none would fail as we really need them. So with that being said, see you guys on the next video. Peace!